Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Untitled Marvel Project. I'm your host, Tanner Dykstra, joined by my usual compatriot, Tucker Hazel. Because Abram's not here, we're getting back into the swing of things, talking about Marvel Disney Plus series. If you're a fan of this ongoing series, I'm sure you'll know that we are talking about the first and second episode of Hawkeye, of course. Much anticipated for Tucker and I, both of us. If you want to anticipate the rest of this series with us, as well as the mid-season and finale discussion that we will be doing for Hawkeye, you should subscribe to Backlog Banter. You should like this video. You should talk about Hawkeye, any other Disney Plus series, anything in particular, by joining the Discord. That link is in the description.
Really?
Tucker, I really liked Hawkeye episode 1 and 2. I'm just getting my thoughts out there right away.
You know what? I'll allow you to start as a little treat just this once.
Okay. Usually I throw it over to you, but for me, I haven't read. I've read a portion of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, and I can, from what I've heard and what you've told me, you've regaled me with tales of that fantastic comic series. It seems like this is a pretty faithful adaptation. It's just having fun with itself. We sort of got to some serious stuff at the end of episode 2, and I like the seeds of what they're planting character wise, villain wise. We have some interesting things still in the mix, such as one Yelena Belova that has yet to show up in the series.
That's true, yeah.
But overall, I think that Haley Steinfeld, Jeremy Renner, Vera Farmiga, whoever plays Jack, this is a good cast of characters, especially talking about Haley and Jeremy. They're just great. I love their chemistry. They cast these two people perfectly, and the dynamic that they have in the writing and the acting is chef's kiss.
I had a very good time with it. This is the first time since or the first release of a Disney Plus show since I realized that I really do not like watching shows week to week. And that is nothing against the content of the show itself, but having episodes cut off and having to wait for the next episode and then sort of forgetting what happens over time. That was why I think I was a little bit underwhelmed by WandaVision and Loki and these shows that are very good and I very much enjoy in retrospect, but as I enjoy them as complete projects.
Sure.
So going back to what we've been doing basically this whole year of watching Marvel shows week to week, it's a little bit jarring for me to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right. I am only going to get a section of this story today. And obviously that has nothing to do with the show itself, other than the fact that it is a television series.
Hold on a second. You're telling me this is a television series?
Believe it or not. But what is there, I think, is good. I'm not blown away by it, but I think that a lot of my my disconnect from it comes from the fact that I'm excited to see how everything grows.
Sure.
This first 2 episodes is kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
Introduce us to these characters to get us to know Kate Bishop a little bit and the world around her, and establish, okay, why does she know Clint? Why does she have a dog? Why is the Tracksuit Mafia after them? And all the stuff that they did set up, I think works well, with it being centered around the idea of them disliking Ronan and her taking the suit, and there being this sort of mysterious force in the background. Is her potential new stepdad a part of that? Does her mom know? There are some interesting mysteries here, and of course you do have Frost character who we don't know anything about yet. You do have Echo. We do have Elena in the background. There's a lot of stuff that's leading to things that could be super interesting, but it was on par with what I expected.
Sure. Yeah, I have to agree. This is
but I wasn't particularly blown away by these first 2 episodes.
Yeah, this is the little sprout that will grow into what is the rest of the Hawkeye series. I feel that cool one take action sequence that we saw at some sort of Disney Plus Day celebration of some sort.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that we'll definitely be getting more of that as the show progresses, and that's what I'm really excited for. But the humble beginnings of the show, I think, are very good, because Chuck, I want to do something that we don't talk about a lot in these Marvel series discussion reviews, and that is the theme of this series, the theme of these first 2 episodes, because I picked up on one. It's not super hidden or anyway. It's not super subtle, but it is this sort of. Presumably at the end of the series, Hawkeye will be passing the mantle of Hawkeye on to Kate Bishop. And it is this sort of idea of what heroes in this universe mean to the average person, because
Sure.
Kate Bishop,
No, that's a great point.
obviously inspired by Hawkeye from a young age. She was she witnessed the Battle of New York, and she saw him do that sweet falling arrow shooting off the building.
Yeah.
But
and the swing through the glass, and then followed by, if you know the movie, subsequent shot of him cringing on the ground, like, my fucking shoulder.
Yeah. But there is also a lot of, commercialization of the heroes in the universe in the show. We get Rogers the musical. We get Clint, or we get the people dressing up as these characters on the street in New York for kids to take pictures with. Clint says, I'm not trying to sell Halloween costumes or toys off the shelf. And Kate Bishop is, reminding him that it's more than that. People look up to the heroes, as even Hawkeye, as subtle and guarded as he may be, as a sort of bastion of hope and justice and goodness in this universe.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good theme. I'd like to see how they tie it all the way through. It even comes up with the little side character Grills in that's the first episode. Oh, it's the second episode.
Episode 2, yeah.
Yeah, episode 2, with him, going to the LARPing sort of festival thing, and Grills being like, "Hey man, it's great to meet you." And Hawkeye's like, yeah, I don't know. Just give me the costume back or whatever. I think Clint will really come around and open his heart a little bit throughout the rest of the series.
Honestly, you've sort of opened me to something that I obviously noticed was there, but I think will actually increase my enjoyment going forward if they do end up playing into those themes more as they go. The idea of what roles heroes play in this universe and people talking about them in the commercialization, I think, is all really interesting. This is a different side of the Marvel universe that we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about before. Next week in our Spider-Man Homecoming review, which we already recorded, a little inside baseball, we talked about one of the greatest aspects of that movie being that it flushes out that sort of on the ground culture of
the everyday
what the MCU
people
is below the gods and monsters that we're used to seeing. And this is our first opportunity to really dig into that instead of this more surface level stuff that was in Homecoming naturally.
First opportunity to do that in a while as well.
Oh, most certainly. Yeah. And I think that's very exciting. And I'm personally very interested to see not only how that shapes Clint and Kate's relationship, but how that impacts her going forward as a hero. If she is looking up to him and wanting him to be the inspiration and open up his heart, I presume that she'll be, very excited to be a hero, very proud to be a hero. That'll put her in an interesting space, and pretty much polar opposite of Clint Barton, who's very guarded and very much, not necessarily ashamed of being an Avenger, but he's
does
not
it because he has
about
to.
it.
Yeah.
He has deep inside. We know he's he likes helping people. He wants to be a protector. He wants to help his friends. There is that part of him that sees this as very exciting, but he doesn't show it.
I think there's also an interesting aspect of him in this is that, his family is still fully fleshed out. He's got special guest star Linda Cardellini. He's got his 3 kids. And you
special guest star Linda Cardellini, who I presume we will never see in the same room
maybe not.
As maybe they'll in the show.
They'll maybe hug at the end or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
As a little treat.
But I do think that he has this sort of interesting dynamic where Clint is now like, I'm done with all the Avengers stuff. I'm sort of fed up with all this. I'm struggling through Rogers the musical.
Let me tell you, I was struggling as well. I don't really like musicals, and that was really fucking cringy. I mean, it was obviously intended to be because also Clint was reacting that way. But I was sitting there like, no, I hate everything about this.
I loved it. But Clint is very much like, I want to settle down. I'm done with all this Avengers stuff. But and he's having a good time with his family when he sees Kate Bishop in the Ronin costume on TV, and he's like, that deep down goodness in Clint's heart's like, I caused a lot of issues. I have to tie up my own loose ends and go figure this crap out, essentially. Yeah. And that's what the rest of the series is going to be, is him figuring this crap out.
Yeah, no, and that's exciting. I do think that we haven't quite been established to the full extent of Clint and Kate's dynamic yet. They're just getting to know each other. They just got each other's numbers. They've only interacted a couple of times, and what we've gotten, I think, is planting the seeds for something very exciting. But I I'm excited for the two of them to get to know one another and really be able to have that camaraderie that I think makes the pair of them such exciting characters to follow in any medium.
Yeah.
The relationship between the two of them and the fact that they're both called Hawkeye, and then that's kind of a joke between them and everyone else, and they're always sort of bouncing off of one another because they know each other's weaknesses and strengths. That's what I'm excited to get to, but we have to work our way up to that.
Right.
And I think I'm just
you want it now. I want it now.
I want it now. I want it now. Yeah. Because that's what I love about the two of them and the way that they work together. But we will be getting that, and it'll be interesting to see by the end of this series what role, if any, Clint Barton will play going into the future of the MCU, because he could be done. He could. Yeah. He probably very well could die in this series, but he could ostensibly retire and not really be a superhero anymore.
I think that's the way it goes. That's personally the way I hope it goes. Sort of close that chapter as we're slowly doing with all the original 6 heroes, you know.
Yes.
Tucker, I want to indulge you a little bit. I want to talk about Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop in this series. We talked about Clint Barton and sort of the thematic
I'll allow
narrative surrounding him.
Just this once.
Let's talk about Kate Bishop. Sort of the centerpiece, you know, the person who the torch will be passed to at the end of this series, presumably. I think Haley Steinfeld's great. I think she's got great comedic timing. I think she pulls off that sort of like reckless abandon that Kate sort of has, but that, you know, she's like, I got to do the right thing, but I'm gonna do the first thing that pops into my head to get it done. I'm not gonna plan anything out in any particular way. I think she pulls that off very well. She's got the drama with her family going on. She can accomplish that very well. I think she's all around doing very well in this series so far.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking as I was going through this show, this first 2 episodes, thinking, what is it that makes me gravitate to Kate as a character? I do like that she is an archer. I like her relationship with Clint, but as a character, I think what makes her compelling as her own hero is this sort of reckless abandon, young energy. I will get everything done myself in any way I need to. I don't really care too much about the rules. Following instructions isn't exactly my forte, but she has a lot of she's very self-confident, which I think is an interesting role to put on a young hero who needs to learn the ropes, because she's very proficient in combat. She's very proficient in archery, but she doesn't know how to do interrogations. She doesn't know how to, get actual
sneak
hero
around
things done. Exactly. Yeah.
Sneak around and not fall through a skylight.
It's fun to see her sort of bumbling through things and not being particularly graceful. Like, she climbs up a wall at one point and she's sort of scrabbling up it. And when she's sneaking away in the darkness of the shadows of the wine cellar, it's like she's kind of doing a little weird run. It's not super slick and stealthy.
No.
She's kind of bumbling, and I find that really fun. And I think that she definitely pulls that sort of naivete but self-confidence off, the balance between those very well. I think her comedic timing is very good, but it's different from the comedic timing of everyone else around her. Sure. I don't think Jeremy Renner has the comedic timing that she has. Sure. And I think that hopefully that balance will iron out as they get to know one another and we sort of get them on the same wavelength. But right now they're at such disparate levels of being funny and being used to being funny that there is a disconnect there. And I think the drama with her mom and her supposed future stepdad is my least favorite part of the show so far. It kind of just feels like they've just front loaded all of that. It's like, okay, this is happening. Her mom is in this relationship. This is what we need to get us started. And because of that, I didn't really get too much of a sense of what her relationship is with her mom outside of
that's a good point
of the fact that she has to deal with this fucking guy who's just entered her life. He is really the centerpiece of everything in that family interaction. That is a little bit weird because as far as I know, he's not a pre-established character. And that guy, the actor, is fine at what he's doing, but I don't find that guy particularly compelling. So it'll be interesting to see how he furthers into the mystery, because obviously there are some seeds being planted of him knowing something or being someone, but it's not clear at this point. So as of now, I'm kind of just like, Jack, you have a crappy mustache and you're not a particularly interesting character.
Yeah, he does. Those are 2 true statements, Tucker. Thank you very much. I want to quickly bring up before because I want to talk about sort of the seeds that are being planted mystery wise.
Yes.
What we were talking about Kate in the wine cellar. I just want to bring up first of all the Gary thing, which I think is pretty funny and sort of exemplifies the sort of Kate Bishop mode of comedy and also like hero work, where she's just like, I've been caught in a situation. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna continue to lie and be confident enough where I'm like, I'm going to trick Gary into thinking that he did talk to me. Not only that, but the fact that he talked to me and I'm hurt by the fact that he doesn't remember it. That's the path that I'm going to push this lie towards.
Yeah.
And I think that matches Kate's character very well. But I also do want to talk about the action sequences so far in this series. Pretty good, I will say. I mean, it's mostly hand-to-hand combat. I didn't catch a lot of like the Marvel-ish like super fast cuts. You can't really tell what's going on, stuff like that. I think, especially in that wine cellar fight, it does hold on things for a little bit longer than typical Marvel things will. Really, mostly to get that the comedic effect of like the bottle not breaking, or like she kicks the one off the floor and hits the guy in the face or whatever. I think overall pretty good for action sequences.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any of them are particularly stand out, except for maybe that the wine cellar fight so far. But I disagree when it comes to the time she's fighting the tracksuit mafia outside in the street and comes to save her, and they're using the editing to obscure his identity, and it's fucking weird. It's like, we don't want. Well, you're not supposed to know who this is. But we want to make sure that you see that he's taking down these guys in like an adept manner. But the editing really does not do that any favors.
Yeah.
I thought that was poorly edited, but it also is not very long. And otherwise, I'm just excited to see them actually do archery stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
We really have not seen that much yet. Yeah.
Also, it's cool that Clint caught that Molotov cocktail and threw it back. Yeah. That's a cool thing. It was in the trailers, and it was still cool in this.
It was still cool. Yeah.
Mystery Tucker. This is our time, our allotted time in each UMP episode where we do baseless speculation about what will happen in the rest of the series.
As we should.
I think Vera Farmiga is a villain. I think she is. I think so.
Her parents usually are something, because in the comics, Kate distances herself from her parents because she finds out that they're not the super nice people that she thought they were when she was a kid, and then eventually comes around to discovering the fact that they are in fact actually villains. And I think that'll be interesting to see the role that her connection with her mom plays in her development in anything, because right now they do feel pretty disconnected, but it could become more interesting, though. I'm personally more interested in what Echo and Yelena are going to do.
Sure.
I think those are the more compelling things because they're
the superhero characters. I will say, and I just thought of this like a mere 30 seconds ago.
Oh,
I think that there's going to be a reveal, maybe
hot off the presses, everyone.
Episode 4 or 5, somewhere in there, that Kate and Clint, they're confronting James, the stepdad character, who's very clearly up to something shady. Jack, sorry, who's very clearly
don't fuck it up.
Sorry,
God,
terrible mustache man.
Yeah.
He's clearly up to something very shady. And they're like, we got you. We figured you out. You're going to jail. And he's like, not so fast.
I've just gotten 3 spam calls in a row.
Oh, well, how about that? Anyway, I think he's like, not so fast. I got a little ace up my sleeve. And then Vera Farmiga comes out, and it's revealed that they're in cahoots as criminal villains the whole time. Because right now, what we're really planting, what the show is really planting, is that Kate thinks that Vera Farmiga is unsuspecting and not knowing what Jack is doing.
Yeah.
But I think that, that's sort of a bit of a bait and switch, that Vera Farmiga is going to be a villain in cahoots with Jack, maybe even betraying him as the ultimate villain of the series.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see. We're already a third of the way done with the runtime of this show. And what they've set up is that there are a surprisingly massive number of different antagonistic forces to keep track of.
Tracksuit Mafia,
Mom, presumably, Jack, definitely, Yelena and Echo, and maybe even more. It's and Frafi's character, who might just be a part of the Tracksuit Mafia, but he certainly seems more
important. They held on his face for a little bit more. So maybe he's like, maybe they'll capture him and they'll team up with him a little bit. He'll flip, he'll turn on him. Who's to say?
Knows?
Yeah.
Who the fuck knows? I think it'll just be interesting to see how over the course of the show they are able to balance this large cast of antagonistic characters. I hope that all of them are actually plot relevant. I hope the Elena isn't just like an Easter egg or like a cameo and
I really hope that she's not just like in the last episode at the end or something like that. Like, surprise, guess who it is? That sort of thing. But
so obviously that's yet to be seen. But I'm holding out hope for that. But I don't know. We're seeing that we're already a third of the way through the runtime of this show, and we're still in the establishing phase. I don't know. I think maybe they've bit off a little more than they can chew. But also, like, if Frafi's character or Jack don't get a character arc or aren't super plot relevant, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah,
it won't be the end of the world.
We'll live.
Yeah.
You know what, Tucker? Maybe Yelena Belova will be a mid-season sting, but we'll have to wait and find out for when we do our mid-season discussion for Hawkeye, which I guess will be after episode 4. They really boned us with this 2-episode rollout right at the beginning.
I actually think that's probably better, considering we're breaking it evenly into thirds at this point.
Oh, that's a great point, Tucker. That's a fantastic point.
6 divides very nicely by 3.
I would tend to agree.
You can quote me on that.
But Tucker, we'll be doing that mid-season discussion, and we'll be doing a finale/series discussion overall once it ends. Abram will potentially be joining us on that. I feel like if I keep saying it, I'll lock him into doing it more. I'll trap him into doing it, is what I'm essentially trying to do. Guilt trip him.
Yes.
Well, if you want to see us guilt trip Abram more into watching Marvel things, you should subscribe to Backlog Banter. We'll continue doing our UMP. We're almost done with our live-action Spider-Man review and ranking, and we'll be getting back into the full MCU thing soon, very, very soon. But despite all that, we'll see you guys next time.